Hello, it's Dawn Michelle from Boho Tarot, and today I wanted to share with you some of my adventures in digital tarot journaling. So first off, this is not an extensive how-to video or even really a beginner's guide to working with GoodNotes, which is what I am currently using for my digital tarot journaling. I just have a standard iPad here. It's not the Pro, it's nothing fancy. I do have an Apple Pencil, and I'm just using the most current version of GoodNotes, which is a paid program in the Apple Store. I believe it was somewhere around $10 or so, so pretty inexpensive. Definitely, I think, worth the cost if you're going to be doing some digital tarot journaling. So again, we're not doing a full beginner's guide or tutorial on how to keep a digital journal. There are lots of wonderful videos out there on YouTube by people who are far more experienced than I am when it comes to this. One that I came across that is kind of like this really wonderful, succinct kind of beginner's guide to working with GoodNotes is called the GoodNotes Guide by Miss Calls Campers, and I'm going to leave a link for that in the description box below. It's just a kind of real basic beginner-friendly how to use GoodNotes and make use of all the little features and functions within this particular app. So if you're not familiar with GoodNotes and you're thinking about using it for the first time, I highly recommend checking out that video. Like I said, there's some great ones on YouTube from actual people who journal on a regular basis and are not noobs like me. But I did want to share a couple of things that I have found that are kind of specific to tarot journaling. So before we get into that, let's talk a little bit about just setting up a digital tarot journal in general. So like I said, I definitely encourage you to watch some YouTube tutorials. Those are going to be the most handy way to really get a sense for how to do this whole digital journaling thing. One of the things that I've found to be really helpful is to have a digital tarot journal that has monthly tabs, and you can see these here are all active tabs in my tarot journal. And I can click on any one of these to quick jump to a different month. There are lots of different templates online that you can buy that have things like just tabbed notebooks. So lots of basic, real plain Jane kind of notebooks that you can grab and import here into your GoodNotes that will have things like those tab monthly dividers. They have ones that are divided up by day, as you can see here with my Thought the Day journal. I can click on any one of these days or months and jump right to that section within my GoodNotes program. You can find all the templates and digital journals that I've created on my website, and I'll leave a link for that for you in the description box below. So there's a lot of different options when it comes to creating documents here in GoodNotes. You can create journals that are landscape, like I have here with my 2022 tarot journal. You can create ones that are portrait, like I have here with my Thought the Day. Just kind of depends on how you like to work with your tablet, which orientation you prefer. I go back and forth. If I'm going to be doing a lot of writing, like I tend to do in the tarot journal, I prefer to have it landscape like this. But if I'm just making quick notes, I think the portrait version works just fine. You can create multiple notebooks and documents. You can just create a new blank one. Like I said, just start fresh, just a blank white page. You can create them at any size that you want. You can also, as I mentioned, buy templates. There are a plethora of them, a rabbit hole you can go down on Etsy, and you can import those into your GoodNotes. You're just taking a PDF and opening it in here. And that is primarily what GoodNotes is. It is a PDF kind of note-taking platform where you can import any sort of PDF in here, and you can just write all over it, edit it, do whatever you need to do to it. So you can see here, I can go into my monthly medicine folder, pull up January. Here's one of the prompts, and you can see I just real quick noted my cards right here over the top of the PDF. And so that can be really handy for working with a guide or a PDF or a guided journey like we're doing in the monthly medicine, or if you are interested in doing things like creating or collecting spreads and workbooks. So I have here a couple of mine. So here's the 21 spreads for personal growth. I can come in here and I can read. I can make notes over the top of this if I wanted to. I can write over the top of it. I could pull cards and import them in over the top of this. But this is just a really handy way to keep all of your sort of digital documents, be it journals, worksheets, guides. But you can bring all of that in here, and this can be a nice place for you to kind of organize all of your digital files. That's kind of what I've started doing. Some of them I use for reference, some of them I actually like work on top of and use them as worksheets. So that's a real just kind of basic look at what the GoodNotes platform is and what it does. Let's talk real quick about a couple of different things that I really am enjoying about the whole idea of digital tarot journaling, and then I'll talk a little bit more in depth about each one. So one of the things that I really like about the tarot journal, as we saw here, is the ability to really organize all of my files, my journals, my workbooks, anything that is basically digital that relates to my tarot practice. I've got them all in here. I can also add other digital documents too, right? Doesn't have to be just for my tarot stuff, but that is tends to be what I use it for. I can also real easily add photos of my readings and my cards in here, and that's always really helpful and handy. I can duplicate the pages. So if I am using a similar template, like perhaps I've done here with some of my Simple Sunday spreads or the Tuesday readings I was doing with the Magdalene in January, I can just duplicate those pages and basically blank them out and add my next reading for the next week. So that's really handy to be able to just kind of clone the pages and the layouts that you use often. The other thing that I really love about this is you can incorporate images from anywhere. This moon, for example, is just an image that I found online, copied it and put it in here. Again, we'll talk about that a little bit more in detail in a moment. Another thing that I really love about this whole digital thing is I was able to create a digital version of my entire Thoth deck. Again, I'll talk about that here more in a minute, but that has made it really handy to do my Thoth a Day card pulls. And I think the thing that I maybe love the absolute most about this whole process is that it allows me to really continue to work on each page, even after I've kind of cleaned up the reading table, stepped away from the reading. I can come back, I can look at my reflections, I could dive deeper, I could add more pages if I want, continue writing. And another thing that I can do is tweak, design, play with these spreads, these pages anytime I want. So that's been really fun to just kind of have that flexibility of being able to add, remove, edit on the fly, which is definitely not something I can very easily do in my paper journal. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not giving up my paper journal. I am using it exclusively for my monthly medicine practice this year, which has been really wonderful. But I have found that in using this particular setup with the digital journal, I am recording more of my readings just because it's really handy to do. So let's talk a little bit about each one of those things. So adding in a reading. Let's bring up a blank document here. We're just going to create a blank notebook, and we're going to go landscape because that is what I've got it on. You can change the paper size and the paper color. We're just going to leave it at A5 white. So one of the things that is really great about this whole digital platform is that as I'm doing my readings, as I'm actually working through my reading, I can grab my iPad real quick and take a picture of the cards that I have laid out on the table. And then, as you saw, to get them in here, it was just a matter of clicking on my camera roll, which is up here, and importing or dragging down the picture that I want to use. So I just can click on that and it'll add a different reading. I can also, as you can see, turn them around, twist them any which way. I have a bad habit of taking photos upside down with my iPad, so I almost always have to flip them around. You can also add an image by clicking the image box here, and again, it'll bring up your camera roll. So anything that I have taken pictures of, I can quickly add in here. Another thing that is really cool about the digital platform here is that I can edit it. This is upside down, so it should be like this. But again, I have a bad habit of taking all my pictures upside down. So if I click on this little box here, it's going to bring me up some options of crop, share, add element. Share is how you copy That was something that I had to get used to because I wasn't used to using the iPad. So in order to share, in order to copy things, I had to go to share and then copy. That allows me to make copies of various things. We'll find that really handy when we go to grab stuff off the internet here in a moment. But another thing that I really like is I can go to crop and I can crop down this photo like so. Get rid of all that excess. Let's turn it around the right way. And now I have my picture all laid out and it's just cropped down a little bit nicer for me to be able to work with. Another thing that is really cool, and when I have the extra time and inclination, I can basically mimic what I do in my paper journal. So, when I work with my paper journal, I put my cards on my scanner, like literally take my cards off the table, put them on my scanner, and I make a color copy of them essentially. I resize them if I need to, and then I bring them to my table and I cut them out by hand. I get my corner rounder, I round the corners. It is a very labor intensive process. I do enjoy doing it. I enjoy the whole process of journaling traditionally on paper, but for quick and easy reads like this, it really is really handy to just go ahead and do it digitally because it makes the whole process a lot faster. I've taken a picture, I've brought it in here. Now, if I want to take out all this background and I do want to do the whole, laying out my cards in specific ways, I can again click on that and crop it. Again, it's upside down, but I can crop this down to just the cards and basically take out that background. So there is my Page of Wands. Now you can see that it has taken away the other cards. So I would definitely need to bring in another copy of that, but there's my Page of Wands. Again, I can rescale it. I can move it around any which way I want. So I can get the whole same look and feel that I have in my traditional journal digitally. Now it doesn't make like super nice rounded corners on them or anything like that, but you can see that I'm able to crop out the cards individually. So if I want to move them around and put them in a certain way, I can. That's really helpful if I want to maybe make some of the cards bigger than others to draw more attention to them. I find that really helpful for that. So in addition to adding your cards in here, it's also really easy to add in your reflections. You have a couple of different options. Again, we're not doing a full tutorial, but just to give you a sense of what you can do here, I can click on the pen tool, select whatever color, whatever size I want, and I can just literally write on here my reflections, right? And then I can write out everything that I want to record or remember about this particular card pull. I can write the prompts down. I can bring in pieces from the guidebook, little excerpts. Now, one of the things that I've found to be really helpful is to basically use, and let me pop over here to an example of this, is to basically use the handwriting or the pen for anything that is basically my own thoughts, my own words, my own reflections. And I do that with my paper tarot journal using different ink colors, which I can do in here as well. But I found that it's been really helpful to have my reflections basically handwriting those out. It feels very organic, very natural. And then what I do is anything that I want to pull in from the guidebooks or from anyone else's information, I actually use the type tool and just type that out. Now, I do have a keyboard on my iPad, but if I click on the type tool, it will bring me up options for a pen or a keyboard. So I can do either one. I just prefer to usually pop my keyboard out and use it. But that gives me a real wonderful visual distinction between basically what's my reflection, my writing, and what is stuff that I have taken from the guidebook. That undo tool is quite handy. So those are kind of just the main things that I found to be really helpful in just getting a reading in. It's real easy to just pop your card in, put it where you want it. You can crop it down. You can crop individual cards out if you want. Write your reflections down. Add anything that you might want to add from other resources or guidebooks or anything like that. And there you have your basic reading. So another thing that I mentioned was duplicating or adding pages. So if I'm going along in my tarot journal and say next Tuesday, I want to do a similar reading with the using the same layout that I have here, I can simply go to my little, click the 4 boxes up there, bring up the kind of grid view of my tarot journal here. Here's the page that I want. I can click the little arrow down at the bottom. I can duplicate that, and then I can just drag that. Let's drag it all the way to the end here. All the way to the end. I can drag that wherever I want it, and now I have it here. So I've got basically a whole copy of my page that I want to duplicate. And so now I can just take out anything that I don't want. I can change the date here by, just clicking on here and clicking edit. And we can go to the keyboard and let's say it is the 15th. And I can use my lasso tool, another really handy thing here, and just select all this text that I don't need anymore. And I'm going to go ahead and select the cards because I don't need those. Theoretically, I'm going to put new cards in, right? So I've got all that selected, and I just click on it, and I have some options here. This is really handy also if you want to change color on text blocks. So if I wanted to change this whole text blocks, I could change the color to brown. I could change the color to purple. And you can see here that it's changing my text color. If I click on it again, I can also delete. Now that clears out everything that I've done here. I can click on this text box and I can edit this with whatever my new cards are, add my new reflection. So that is really handy. If I decide I wanted to do that later on and I wanted to move it somewhere else, I can simply click on it here and move it to wherever I want it, and it will switch it around within the whole document. If I decide I don't want it, I can just click on that arrow and say move to trash. So that is really handy, being able to duplicate your spreads that you use quite often. I did that a lot with the Sunday spreads. I just duplicated the spread here and blanked out or took out the things that I don't need and then put my new information in there. Also, being able to rearrange pages is very helpful as well. Another thing that I found really helpful, if we go here to say my moon reading, I was able to put all of this information on one page, and then I realized I had a bunch I wanted to write about it. So I simply added in a blank page using my same template to make sure that I'm getting my little bars down the side. So those are the big main things. Another thing that it just took me a little bit to figure out was this little pen icon here. If I were to try to use these tabs while I'm in the blue header here, this means I'm in editing mode. So if I were to try to use this now, it would just write all over the tabs. It wouldn't actually do anything. You have to turn that off or on, whichever it is. Now I'm kind of in preview mode and I can click around. Obviously, I don't have anything in there. So another thing that I really love about this whole digital setup here is the ability to add images from other places. So here I'm in Facebook and I've just brought up my Simple Sunday spread. I can bring up that photo and I can simply copy it, go back into my GoodNotes, and I can paste it in here, and there's my prompt. I can also do that with any other thing that I can come across, any other image that I can come across online. So this is an image from the Northern Animal Tarot that I just copied off of her website and, cropped it out down to just what I wanted, and I pasted it in here. This whole image over here is royalty-free stock art, so I just grabbed that from one of those websites and copied and pasted it in here. So it allows me to basically, anything I can find online digitally, I could put in here, any sort of imagery, any sort of artwork. Here's another good example, this little moon that I have here, right? That's a clip art moon that I found. This is again a little clip art Capricorn that I've put in here. You'll also hear people talk about digital stickers. Now, I have purchased a little digital sticker book, and basically what this means is that somebody has created this document, taken the time to import all of these little doodles in here as the same as you saw me import a reading. So I can take this little image here, and again, we're just going to go to share and copy, and I can put that here in my little document. and I can size it, move it around, and put it where I want it. And it's, just allows you to add some little decorative elements. You could also just go on Google and grab any image that you wanted off of Google and pop it in here with the exact same way. Basically, what the sticker book is somebody has just taken the time to import all of these images in and get them ready for you to copy out and use in your own digital files. So that is pretty much what a digital sticker book is. There are millions of them on Etsy. If you are interested in having these quick and easy little graphics or images or kind of bullet journal-y style of artwork that you want to add to your journal, just go into Etsy, search for digital stickers, and you will find a plethora of them. If you're using GoodNotes, you might want to make sure that it is GoodNotes compatible, just to be sure. So that is really cool that you can just kind of copy and paste anything from anywhere, right? I could also go into, say, Google here, and let's say I wanted this high priestess. I can copy that image. I can bring it back into GoodNotes here, and I can paste it in here, and there she is. So I can add additional cards if I wanted. So the ability to kind of grab images from anywhere to create this whole digital layout that you want to create is really cool. You're not limited to the physical products you have on hand at that point, right? You're not limited to physical stickers or papers or anything like that that you might have to have on hand. You can grab anything from online and use it, again, for your own personal use. For example, this little, which I accidentally wrote on, this little paper swatch here that I've got this text on top of is basically just an image of paper that I pulled off of Google. So one of the other really cool things in speaking about sticker books is that you can, the same effect, sticker books with your own decks. So this is obviously a very labor intensive process if you want to do this yourself. It took me the better part of a day to scan my entire Thoth deck in and to save them all out as basically transparent, then copy and paste them all into here to create this document. So basically that means that I had to literally take each of these cards one at a time, scan them to my computer, bring them over into GoodNotes, bring them into the document, size them down so they would fit on the page, and create this little digital sticker book. Now, the only reason this is worth the effort to me is because I am using this deck every single day this year. So I have the ability to lay out my card a day pulls, and you can see here's all my little digital stickers. So every time I pull a card from the Thoth, from my actual Thoth deck, I can go over here to my Thoth deck, grab whichever card it was that I got for the day, and paste it in here. That also means that I can put larger versions of it in here for my actual daily pages. So that's a really cool thing that you can do. It is very labor intensive. I do want to note that this would only be for your personal use, right? You can't take these images unless you're using a copyright royalty-free deck. I wouldn't be able to take these and like sell these. So a lot of times I get people that ask me, can you send me a copy of your digital version of this deck or the other? And the short answer is no, I can't, because that is a violation of that creator's copyright. But because this is for my own personal use, I can scan my deck, use it personally. I just can't sell it or redistribute it to other people. So I do want to make note of that. There are probably digital versions of decks that you can buy. I would caution you to really look into make sure that they are legitimate. Using a basic Waitsmith deck is, there's lots of those out there for just digital stickers. Those are probably fine because, the copyright stuff on that is a little bit more flexible. Please be very mindful about the rights of the artists and the creators making these decks that you're using these digital copies of. You can also do the same process by literally, taking a photo of all of your cards and cropping them down like this. That would probably be only something I would do for a deck that I'm going to be using a lot, or for a deck that I'm going to be using forever, because it is a very labor intensive process, but it is very handy for things like a daily card pull. Because I'm using the same deck, I have access to all the images. It just makes the whole process even that much faster for me. So I think, as I've mentioned earlier, one of the things that I really like about the whole digital journaling thing is that I can get all of my information in here. I can drop a reading in here, put my cards in. Here's my reading, put my reflections in, put my prompts in, put whatever I want in here, get it all down, and I can just leave it like this. I can leave it a hot mess, and that's okay. Then I can go back later on, and I do this a lot. I can go back later on and make it pretty. I can move things around, I can crop things out. That is what I do a lot of times with these smaller readings, is I'll just do the reading, put the basic information in here, and then I'll make it pretty later on. And that's something that I've actually really enjoyed doing, is just kind of playing with making my pages and my spreads pretty in the evening. I spend a lot of time working with this tarot journal in the evening, and it's been a lot of fun. And of course, as you've seen throughout, you can add embellishments, you can draw, you can add stickers, you can add your prompts, you can add your cards. There's a lot of flexibility with this program and what you can do with it. So let's talk about a couple of my biggest frustrations with the digital tarot journaling, just in all transparency. My absolute biggest frustration with GoodNotes, and I know I'm not the only one, so hopefully they will address this at some point, but there is no ability to move the layers of things. So if I put this card down first and this card over the top of it, this card will always be over the top of it. I can't say, move this card to the front. It looks like I can when I click on it, but as soon as I click off of it, it is going to go back to this card being on top. So basically, whatever you put in there layers on top of whatever you've had in there previous. Same with things like this. If I wanted this sticker, this little digital sticker here behind this prompt, I would have to actually take this prompt out, copy it, share, copy, delete it, and then put it back in so that it would be over the top of it. So that is probably my absolute biggest complaint with GoodNotes, is that I can't just tell it move to the front of the layer or move behind it like I can with every other design program that I have. Maybe that's something they'll fix someday, but as of right now, basically, if you want to relayer things, you kind of have to use the copy, delete, repaste it back in method in order to get things layered up how you want them to be. That is my absolute biggest frustration with this whole application here. Another one of my kind of little frustrations with it is that it can get really sluggish if you have a lot of cards. As you can see here, I click on my Thoth deck, it takes a minute to load when you've got a lot of images, not just cards, any sort of images. So the more image heavy your pages are, the longer it takes to load. There are some things you can do, like keeping your trash clean and things like that might be helpful, but I also don't have like the latest, greatest, newest iPad, so it's probably not the fastest, greatest thing ever. But I have noticed that sometimes it can get a little bit sluggish when I am bouncing back and forth between things, especially if there are like large images or lots of images on the screen. Another frustration is sometimes my pencil dies. Okay, that's just me not plugging it in and charging it, but I do forget. And that is a frustration because I go to sit down and write my reflections in and my pencil is dead. And so that means I have to actually write it down on paper and then transfer it over later. That's really kind of my own, I just forget to charge this thing quite often. I'm pretty good about charging my iPad itself. I forget to charge it and my pencil dies, and sometimes that makes it so I can't get my reflections in that 5 minutes. So that's just a really little quibble. Another really little quibble, which is totally my own thing, is that I can sometimes get into a little over tweaking my pages. Because I can come back here and I can redo pages at any time, there have been times where I've been basically like bored sitting on the couch, and I will come in here and I will pull up a spread that I've done and I'll rearrange it and I'll redesign it. And I don't change any of the reflections that I've written, but I will like maybe move cards around, or I'll add stickers, or I'll add doodles or whatever. That's not necessarily a bad thing unless it becomes like a total distraction and keeps me from moving forward in my practice because I'm too busy playing with the spreads I've already done. But again, that's just my own little silly thing. So anyway, that is kind of a look at how I've been using my tarot journal, kind of the little adventures in tarot journaling that I've had over the last month, and some of the tips I've picked up along the way. I would love to know if you digital tarot journal, what you're using, how you like it. Share with me any tips that you've come across along the way, because I would love to learn more. Definitely try to kind of check back in and share with you along the way as I maybe get a little bit more familiar with this whole process. But I thought it would be fun just to kind of share starting off my adventures in digital tarot journaling and some of the things and the tips that I've picked up along the way. So as always, my friends, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I look forward to seeing you again soon as we grow together with the tarot.